Hello, everyone, and welcome to CodeCast by STL Tech Talk. Are you ready for the instructional, informative, unique, and insightful commentary on programming and technology? Of course you are. My name is JJ Hammond, and I'm joined tonight by a coding expert and my fellow co-host from STL Tech Talk. Up first is our guest. By day, he leads the development team of a customer-facing line of business tools using Microsoft software and technologies for pivot technology solutions, including SQL Server, WCF, MVC, and Entity Framework. From 2002 to now, he worked for Whole Foods Market, building, well, not now, I'm sorry, till 2011, that was my bad, building enterprise applications and mobile device apps using .NET and C# and VB, WinForms, WPF, ASP.NET, and Pocket PC/Windows Mobile. The incredible Robert Shurbet. Say hello, Robert.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
I'm doing well. You know, given that the intranet decides to give me a nice little right in the side as before the show, I'm doing fairly well. But this show is not possible without my good friend, editor-in-chief of STLTechTalk.com, co-creator of CodeCast by STL Tech Talk, also the Tech Informist Show. That's a podcast that literally is exploding in a good way. The uncanny Kevin Harvell. Hello, Kevin.
Hello, JJ, and hello, Robert. Thank you for joining us this fine evening on CodeCast.
Hello, Kevin. Thanks for the invite, guys. I appreciate it.
Yes, our blood runs Windows deep, that's for sure. So, our Microsoft deep. So, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. But I also want to thank our last guest for the STL Tech Talk podcast, and that was Dugan Sherwood. So, thank you for that. Also, wanted to thank Daniel Rubino. He was an awesome guest for us for the Tech Informist show. It was a wonderful show, and there was a lot of Windows Phone fans who downloaded that podcast and listened to it. So, we really appreciate that. While I'm thanking people, let's go ahead and thank the sponsors of the show. Inertia Software, creating cutting-edge, highly scalable Microsoft technological solutions to the energy industry. Visit inertia-software.com to see how they can help you. Also, Tech Systems. Our people make IT possible. People are at the heart of every successful business. Every year, Tech System deploys over 80,000 IT professionals at 6,000 client sites across North America, Europe, and Asia, with IT staffing solutions, IT talent management, and IT services that complement and enhance your in-house skills, capabilities, optimize how you attract, develop, and retain IT people, achieve business goals with managed project and outsourced services. Contact Tech Systems today, or visit them at techsystems.com/STL, or just techsystems.com, or call them 314-819-1117. So thank you so much for your support of the show. We could not do this without you. Let's go ahead and get into the reason why we're all here tonight, and that is to listen to the great, the powerful Robert. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What got you into technology, sir?
Powerful. You've clearly lost your mind. I don't know who's telling you things like that. I wish I had more power. Let's see. How did I get into technology? I think probably, you know, I always had a fascination with computers. I'm going to age myself a little bit here and actually disclose that I am in my 40s. So I do remember. I know, isn't it crazy? All this gray hair is all natural at 20. Mm-hmm. No, the first computer I had was a TI 99-4A. It was a Texas Instruments computer, and it came with a little book. And you could pop that book open and hook the computer up to your TV and basically sit here and transpose lines of code from the book and come up with some short, neat little games. And then you were done. You bought a special cable and hooked it up to your jam box and got you a nice little cassette and hit record. And that's how you saved data for playback later when you wanted to play it. So that was kind of my first, oh, wow, this is kind of cool. But for some reason, when I graduated from high school, I got this wild journalism hair. I have no idea why.
Sure.
And went to school for journalism.
Because you're insane. You know, just you may be insane. You need to go to see a doctor.
Exactly. I never graduated from college with a journalism degree, and every day I open the newspaper or open my web browser and look at my online news. I'm not disappointed with that at all.
Okay.
That outcome did not disappoint me at all. But
Right.
no, I worked for Whole Foods. Actually, I started working for Whole Foods in 1994. My first job at Whole Foods was I worked behind the meat counter, literally meat and seafood. That was my job. I ended up in San Francisco. We opened up a store down in San Diego at La Jolla, and then I ended up here working at the distribution center. And when I got there, it kind of amazed me that everything that they did was on paper. And this was 1996, 97. So I kind of approached the facility manager and said, "Hey, this is crazy. This is a billion-dollar company. Why is everything on paper?" And said, "Give me some time and some time with Microsoft Access, and I think I can figure this out."
That's worse. That's almost as bad as Xcode, sir.
Back then it was.
Or Objective C. Objective
Yeah,
C.
well, I cannot believe you equated Objective-C and VBA. Oh my God.
Right.
No, I mean
I'm going
VBA.
to hell anyways. I might as well go there in flames.
For a novice, VBA was great training wheels, and I started messing around with that, and next thing you know, somebody said, "Hey, we got this Pocket PC device. You want to see about that?" And I got into Embedded Visual Basic, EVB, and then on to VB6, and before you know it, I was down in Austin at the national office, and I was a software engineer. I'm like, how the hell did that happen?
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of the genesis of how it happened. I worked in IT at Whole Foods from 2002 to 2011, and we did a lot of cool stuff, with Pocket PC and mobile apps and the Compact framework, and of course the standard stuff. So, client server apps with SQL Server and Windows Forms and all that good stuff. So that's kind of been the genesis of my how my tech career started.
That's amazing. That's unique. I love hearing how people got into it, because that speaks to how people are, in the going forward, what that's going to look like. Like what got you into that. I like hearing those different things, because you found a problem, or you were a part of a change in culture or whatever, and you were a part of that, and that's so cool, man. For me, to listen to those things, because it's hard. It's really difficult to change the way an entire company, especially one like Whole Foods, and make that transition to where it doesn't tank a company, because we all know how technology can make or break you sometimes. So, well done, obviously, but also, it's awesome that's what got you. So let's transition a little bit into what you're got you into doing what you're doing now. So what started the transition over into Pivot?
Well, after 17 years at Whole Foods, I was a little long in the tooth. So it was kind of time for a change. I took some time off, and I got my first Windows phone in 2010 when they first hit the market. I was an iPhone user before that. So I took some time and kind of played around and did some stuff on my own. And then when I ended up at Pivot, it's basically it was a 3-person operation, and now it's a 2-person operation in terms of what I do and where I'm at. We're trying to get our business analyst back, actually. It was we were. Basically, I came into a situation where he had an application that was written in Cold Fusion on top of Oracle.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it was a little frightening. And having come up in a world of kind of hackery, I mean, let's be honest. When you first start, you start the way I did. Things aren't always the best solution. So it was instantly recognizable, the genesis of that application when I got it. There's like, oh, we've had a lot of different hands in here with no documentation.
Oh, I hate that. That's the worst. If you're a programmer, don't do that. And if you do, just throw yourself against the wall.
At least comment your code. I can handle not having a requirements document, but just little comments help.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was charged with let's rewrite this entire application. It was a quote-to-order CRM application. Let's rewrite it completely on MVC, ASP.NET, and on top of SQL Server.
Nice.
And we did that in it was a big deal. It was a quoting module, sales order module, it was a literal ground-up rewrite of a fairly significant application. And we did that in about, I want to say 13 months, 14 months. Went to production. Yeah, it was big. It went to production in March of 2013 and has been out there since then. We did 9 releases, 9 sprints, 9 production releases in that year, and then we're on one a month schedule right now, where we're pushing stuff out to production every month. So in fact, today was trying to wrap up release 10 so I can get it in the hands of UAT so we can go to production in 2 weeks.
Oh, that is so cool. That is really that's awesome. So talk to us a little bit about what drove you to stay with the Windows Phone and continually develop for modern apps and stuff like that.
Well, for me, it seemed, if you're on the Microsoft stack, you kind of already know the tools. You know that things aren't going to deviate. The biggest deviation, even with the introduction of Windows Phone, I would still say the biggest disruptive deviation that Microsoft did was going from VB6 over to Visual Studio and .NET. Yeah. That was probably the most disruptive thing that's happened during my career. So when Windows Phone came around, it's like, oh well, this is familiar tools, familiar environment. It's XAML, Silverlight, all this just makes sense. Why would I venture off into the iOS world, even though I had an iPhone? The minute I saw, I think Daniel Rubino actually, by the way, great. Tech Informers podcast with Daniel. That was awesome.
Thank you.
I think he posted a poll not too long ago asking something specific, and I don't remember the way he worded the question, but it was kind of that, who do you develop for? Who did you start on? Was it iOS? Was it Windows Phone? I started out with iOS, and I kind of forgot the point of where I was going with that. What was the question again?
No. So actually, I like
before we started.
Yeah, we did. We just talked about.
No.
Get those stinks.
I remember. So I was on the iPhone as well, and we were talking about what made you go with the Windows Phone instead of sticking with and taking that other direction. Because it's easy to do in a sense, because there is web. You can make web apps. You can make. You don't necessarily have to write in native Apple tongue, if you will. Because some of the applications are kind of can be used for the web apps type. So that is possible, and you're a good enough programmer that you could have you can continue to, if you wanted to, develop for iOS and stuff, but you didn't. And so what kind of kept you in the Windows Phone? Because we're kind of having a Windows Phone week here. We had Daniel on Monday and then you on today. So what kind of kept you in the ecosystem?
It was Windows Phone, and now I remember where I was going. The question he asked was I think it maybe even was Sam that asked the question. What got you into it? Why Windows Phone? What was the first thing that attracted you to the platform? And the honest answer was, what got me excited about Windows Phone was when they announced it and you opened up that first Windows Phone 7 webpage that Microsoft had up, and it had that cool music. I don't know where they got it. It's all ingrained in the native ringtones on Windows Phone. You can hear it. City is one of them. I think City is actually the City ringtone is the music that was playing on the website. And the minute the overlays came up and I saw the tiles moving around, I looked down at my iPhone. I was like, this is so gone the minute this handset comes out. It just spoke to me from kind of an emotional level. In fact, one of the first things I wrote about when I started the cheekyguitarist.com was on the blog. I talked about specifically the emotional connection that just looking at that start screen helped form with the user. The point was, when I looked at my iPhone, I saw a grid of apps, and I saw Steve Jobs and Apple staring back at me. And when I looked at my Windows Phone, I saw my life. It was centric around me. And once that happened, once that connection was made, it was like, I can't go back to anything else. So that's kind of, I made the jump. I didn't look back, and it's my significant other has a vested interest. I'll leave it at that. It has a vested interest in Apple, so we're kind of a dual household, and that decision didn't go over very well initially, but
sure.
We managed to get through it, so everything's fine now.
That's awesome. Well, I share that, and almost everything, pretty much everything you said. I think when I first saw it, I was like, this is awesome. This is my style, right? I mean, because it's all about how you, and I've said this before. The iPhone and Apple makes phenomenal hardware. Their software is for a lot of people. Even an Android, same way. I mean, you can skin the crap out of that stuff, and it's interesting and it's fun or whatever. But this kind of it spoke to me more from a usability standpoint and from how I like to interact with my devices. And since then, it's only gotten better for me. And I know that's not for everybody else, but for me, since then, it's gotten better. And it's gotten better each and every time, I feel like. Even with the latest release in Cortana, we were talking a little bit about that, or you guys were talking a little bit about before we got on the show. So that's what's kept me in the ecosystem. That's what keeps me, working towards developing apps for Windows and the Windows platform and the ecosystem. And now I'm going to be able to target the whole. From Galileo, which is their Internet of Things, all the way up to Xbox, and all the way up to their big screen touch devices. So there's a lot there for me to still have fun, because I want to have fun programming, and I have a lot of fun programming in Visual Studios and working with the tiles and working with the flips and the gestures and all those kinds of things. I'm just a big fan of the using of those things and the creation of those things.
Yeah. I still, to this day, get a kick out of doing the simplest task and running it in the emulator and watching it happen, and you're like, yes, I am a god. It's still that
totally.
It doesn't matter how complex or how simple the code is. I think that, I don't know that I would have gotten, I would feel that way about writing code. If I hadn't started the way I did. I didn't have this innate kind of curiosity about it. People make the decision, they go to college, they get a computer science degree, that's what they do, and they live that, and that's great. I mean, people come at it in different ways, and I think for me, personally, I don't know if I would have gotten as excited about it had I not been afforded the chance to kind of discover this about myself as I went along the way. So you kind of get that kind of personal thrill and that personal satisfaction all at the same time.
Right. No, that's awesome. That's solid. Now, I don't want to, we can pick up where we left off, but what I really am looking forward to is some awesome demo. You've got demo prepared for us, and I'm super stoked about that. So tell our audience a little bit about what you're running and how you're running it. You're using Visual Studios and all the above. So go.
Well, I am using Visual Studio 2013, Update 3. I am running that on a Windows 10 desktop right now. This entire thing is taking place on Windows 10. That's great for the desktop. I highly recommend that if you are a technically savvy individual and you have a desktop to spare, the Windows 10 is running great on the desktop. I pulled it off my SP3, put Windows 8 back on because Continuum's not there and the touch experience wasn't awesome yet. So, but yeah, that's kind of the environment. There's nothing really special about it. I don't know about you guys, but I've built my own computer since 1998.
Right. Yep. That's kind of where I'm at with it too.
Yeah, it's just been a series of upgrades as I've gone along. Big, small, depends on what you need. But I haven't had the need actually to upgrade it in a while. So, but yeah, so it's all pretty standard stuff. What I did is I do have a new app that I'm working on. I'm not quite ready to take the covers off of it yet. It's going to be a kind of a cool Cortana-enabled location tracking kind of app. It's called Pinly, and there's a Twitter account for it. I think it's Get Pinly app, if I remember correctly. I set all of that stuff up, and I can't remember half of it. But
I'll look it up while
thank you.
Prepare your screen share there.
Exactly.
Nice.
But what I am going to show off is a little bit of where I'm at right now. Is in the design of that app. Is was on advertising, and I've had to make a decision about what type of advertising platform I was going to use. I've got a lot of recommendations. A lot of people want to use PubSetter. Some people have suggested AdMob. I'm going to go the Ad Duplex route. And both my apps started out initially with Ad Duplex ads in them, both Hashtastic and SimpleTip. Used Ad Duplex, and I didn't really do ad display so much as I did app exchange. I was trying to get the apps out there. And if you're not familiar with Ad Duplex, they have a program where you can basically set up display ads, and in your app, ads for other Windows Phone apps by other developers will show up, and likewise in their apps, if they've chosen that route, your app can show up as an ad. So it was a nice cross-promotional thing that you can do. Honestly, I don't know if anyone else is out there doing it. Certainly, I don't think anyone else is doing it for the Windows Phone platform. And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier about they're a Windows Phone-centric company. And for me, that just makes a lot of sense to just stick with a company that's really focused on Windows Phone and is really trying to make a go of it there. It's a little chicken and the egg syndrome because they've got a lot of apps out there on that exchange program. A lot of that's where all their statistics come from. So every month we see those reports coming on and featured on WP Central about the different statistics from Ad Duplex. So yeah, they're a good company, and it just made a lot of sense for me to use them. So what I've done is I've got a little demo of how to integrate their SDK into a Windows Phone 8.1 XAML app. It's not Silverlight; it's the pure deal. And I'll just go ahead and get started.
Okay. We'll go ahead and get the screen share. Hit that screen share button in the top left again. That way we can see what it is that you're demoing. And that was at Pinly app. I finally was able to find it. So it's PINLY app.
I should really be able to remember the names of my own Twitter accounts.
Hey,
don't worry, Robert. That's what we're here for.
Exactly.
Okay, so can you see the Visual Studio instance?
Yes.
Okay, so let me bring up a different instance real quick and share that. Where is it? There we go. Let's see. You guys can only see the one, right? All right. I'm gonna switch over real quick.
Okay.
There we go. I think there we should just have a blank Visual Studio now that's not opened.
Yes.
Okay. So basically, the first thing you're going to do is pop open Visual Studio, and here you're going to go to File, New, Project. And you can see all the multitude of selections under Store Apps. We have our new Universal, we have our Windows, and we have our Windows Phone. And I'm not going to do any Universal app. I'm just going to go ahead and start off with a Windows Phone app. So that's just generally where you would go. You got different templates. There's your hub template. Before we get started with that, though, you're going to want to do a couple things. First thing you're going to want to do is over in Tools, you're going to want to bring up extensions and updates. And looky, there it is. Normally this would not show up right here, so you'd want to go over to online and do a quick search for Ad Duplex. Should put my glasses on. There we go. So it'll bring up Ad Duplex. There'll be an install button right here. You'll go ahead and install that. It's already installed for me, which is great. So once you get that installed, then you can go ahead and create your new app. Let me switch over to my other window real quick, now that I'm getting the hang of this. There's my Visual Studio instance. There it is. And there we go. All right, now we should be back. There we go. All right, so first thing you'll have to do is you'll have to add a reference, obviously. So remove that. Sorry, demo that. Just hit Add Reference in your project. Go over to Extensions, and you should see the Add Duplex SDK for Windows Phone 8.1 XAML. Go ahead and check that. Bring it in. Once you've got your reference in, then you're going to add this line of code right here into your XAML page. It's basically referencing the DLL. And then after that, it's just basically a matter of positioning. What I've done is I went ahead, this is the default template here. I've put in some grid row definitions so that I can kind of keep that a little cleaner. There we go. And then down at the very bottom, you'll see I've got this nice new grid row here where I put in my ad control. Now, this particular example is kind of cool because, you know, most of the time when you see an app that's built with in-app purchasing with ads, the ad removal, it's always buried on a menu, or it's on an about page, or you got to kind of hunt for it. This is kind of cool because they've given us the ability to actually put a button on the ad. I haven't decorated the button with anything, but what you can see right here is it's just we've created a little rectangle that'll highlight red on the ad overlay itself. Here you've got your ad control, and because this is a Windows Phone 8.1 XAML app, it's going to be using the WinRT runtime. So things are a little bit different in how you do some sizing. We'll get into the code behind here in just a second, but this is the basic binding that you want to do here. You want to go ahead and bind your height, actual height, and actual width values from your ad control, or to your ad control. And that's basically it for the XAML. There's not a lot to do there. Now, with obviously, if you were going to show this live and you were going to do ads, you'd want to go ahead and there's another parameter in here for app ID. So just like any advertising control, Ad Duplex will give each app an app ID, and you'll want to drop that in here in order to access it. We don't need it for right now because it'll very clearly tell us there's a configuration problem when we go to run it. So that's the XAML. There's not a lot to it to get it in there. So you can see how clean and easy that was. The code behind, there's a little bit more involved because you got to do a couple things. First thing we're going to do is we're going to create add a method down here at the bottom that's basically going to get the size of our screen. So WinRT is a little different than Silverlight in the way it determines bounds of the screen and the different resolutions. So you got to do this methodology a little differently. So here you can see we're going to go ahead and get our bounds from our Windows UI XAML Windows Current bounds property. You'll go ahead and set the orientation. You'll go ahead and create a new result size, and then you'll just handle the different types, either landscape or portrait. You'll get the new sizes when that occurs, and then this is what you're actually going to bind your XAML to. So it turns out pretty nice. To go along with this method, you're going to need, right under your initialized component, you're going to need to go ahead and set the sizes here on our button overlay. So we're going to call our method here to get our size, overall size, and then we're going to go ahead and set our height and width, and these are the values that we're binding to in XAML. The last thing we're going to do here is I've actually got a tapped event that I'm going to have. So this is generally going to be where you're going to insert your in-app purchase removable code. Basically here, scrolling too fast. It's the only little thing that bugs me about this designer a little bit is where'd all that space come from? All right, so down here, you'll see that I've wired in the tapped event. So when the button is tapped, we're going to get our nice little message box. So let's go ahead and run this puppy. You can see what it looks like. Let me switch over to that. Oh, you can see that. Good. You guys see the emulator? Looks a little funky.
Yeah, I can definitely see it on there.
Okay. So yeah, it looks a little strange, but oh, there we go. So now there you got it. The control sized itself perfectly to the screen resolution that we're working with. And by the way, this is what is this? I think this is the 6-inch or 5-inch 512 megabyte emulator image. And now here you can see our little red button, and when you tap it, you get your message box. And that's where you would execute your code for doing an in-app purchase. So it's so easy to integrate this stuff. They make it really clean and simple, and I've tried working with Pub Center. Pub Center is an okay platform, but trying to get your ad sized correctly with all the gamut of screen sizes that you actually have to work with is not easy. Ad Duplex just works. So that's one of the reasons I chose them, and hopefully, we could be a trailblazing pioneer and make Ad Duplex really popular. Of course, everybody will gripe when they go cross-platform. So. Microsoft gets a lot of grief about their cross-platform stuff right now, so I expect if they ever do it, they'll probably get the same level of grief. But works great in these apps, and it does work in a universal app. It will work across the board in a Windows or a Windows Phone app in the new paradigm. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Nice. So what kind of time frame are you looking at for Pinley or Amir? Are you looking to do a beta within the next month or so, or?
I expect to have a beta within the next month or so. There's I am learning as we go. WinRT is if you're working with WinRT and a Silverlight Windows Phone app and a universal, it's confusing and it's not awesome. I think you'll find that that's probably one of the more prevalent attitudes right now about the state of where we're at with Windows Phone 8 and Windows 8. I think when we get to 10, that's going to be fantastic. I think that some of that friction is going to be reduced a lot, and some of that learning curve is going to go away. But yeah, I'm thinking about a month. I've got, this is going to be my first pure XAML non-Silverlight Windows Phone app. It's going to be using the WinRT runtime, so it's going to be a little trial and error. So we'll say a month and hope for the best.
Yeah. So what are some of the other Windows Phone apps that you've done in the past that people might know?
Well, Hashtastic is probably the most popular one, which is weird. I would think the tip calculator would be. The tip calculator sounds kind of silly, but that was my first Windows Phone app. I think it was one of the first 20,000 that was in the Windows Phone store when it launched initially. I had a mishap with my Microsoft ID and eventually had to pull it and republish it. But yeah, that's been the one that's been around the longest. Hashtastic has been a little bit more recent. That is a kind of a Twitter utility. It's mostly for managing hashtags and tweeting multiple people. It's kind of turned into a Follow Friday app, an unofficial Follow Friday app. It's got some pretty cool stuff in it. It developed a little bit of a following with the WinFan community.
Yes, Sean and Kyle and everybody.
Those guys. Sean is actually, I got to give a shout out to Sean Johnson. the whole avatar gallery in the Hashtastic app, where you can actually select a bunch of people for a hashtag tweet and then have it generate an image overlaying tiles with the Twitter avatar of the individuals you've selected into a phone image is pretty good. That was his idea. He came to me and said, "Dude, I am literally going into my contacts and I am pinning people to my start screen and scrolling down and taking a screenshot and then putting together my Follow Friday tweets and attaching that thing. Can you make this easier?" And I was like, "Well, probably." And I'm lazy and don't do imaging, and that really wasn't my deal. So I actually got a hold of Urte Shasko, who is the developer for TileMe, and said, "Dude, you're doing all this imaging stuff, all right? Can you write me an assembly that I can just basically pass you in all these avatars, and you can come back with and the phone image, and you can come back with a fully composed image for me that we can attach to a tweet?" He said, "Sure, give me a couple days," and he turned that around, and we got some phone templates for the first round. I think was the 920, the 1020, and a couple others they put together, and we got that slammed out and put in last, I think that came out last December. And now you can hardly ever see a tweet from the Hashtastic app that doesn't have an avatar gallery image attached to it, which is
it's gorgeous. I mean, you did a wonderful job. Just a wonderful job.
Well, thank you.
And I'm tagged on a bunch of those.
Yeah, a lot of people are, and I gotta say, the collaborative aspect of that with Urte was really cool, because I don't know how I don't see a lot of that happening amongst the developer community per se. It happens occasionally, but being able to collaborate with him on that and actually produce something that a lot of people actually really enjoy and like, that was probably the most gratifying end of that experience.
Absolutely. Well, you're not done yet, right?
With the demo, pretty much, yeah, that was it.
Oh, okay.
I could do another one if you want. I got another one queued up here. I've actually got some.
Let's do it. Let's do it, man.
Okay. Well, I'll be doing that one from scratch, so you'll get to see how the sausage is made. So just for reference, just a quick. Here's the link from the AdDuplex blog that basically goes over the instructions. And whereas I showed you how to do the XAML. Pure XAML app, they've also got instructions for putting in AdDuplex to a Silverlight app, even as far back as Windows Phone 7. So you can find a lot of that information on their blog.
If you could email me those links in particular, that way I can put those in the show notes for listeners, people that like to check that out in the future.
I will be happy to do it.
That would be awesome.
Absolutely.
So one of the things I did forget to mention, well, if you're gonna do this, let's see here, the Universal SDK. So getting the Universal SDK, they've actually updated it since then. You used to have to go to their gallery webpage. You don't have to do that anymore. Some of the more complicated stuff is actually around your app ID. One of the things, let me real quick, if you guys don't mind, I'll show off.
No, this show is your show, so whatever you want to do,
show off all you want.
That's right.
That's really dangerous. I'm going to go ahead and sign in here, and just got to show you guys. This is the dashboard. Now, like I said, I initially used AdDuplex in both of my apps when I started. I've since pulled those a while back and kind of doing just pure free with the simple tip and 99 cents for premium features in Hashtastic. But this is the dashboard. You can see you've got your app overview. You can do campaigns. You can see your apps. So here's both of my apps in here. They both say they're Windows Phone 7. That's not true anymore for that one. That's unfortunately still true there. I have to update that app. But you get a pretty good picture of your clicks, your CTR, your conversion rate. They've got a pretty good, robust statistics that you can pull for your time periods. So let's see here. I'm going to entirely certain why that shows up a little bit differently here. I'll have to talk to them about that. But you can go pretty far back. I'm going to go all the way to the max, and you can kind of see daily active users, the number of impressions, how many times. This is from the ad exchange program, so it shows you how many times ads were shown in your app. It also shows you how many times your app was shown in other people's apps. So it's pretty robust. Highly encourage you to check it out if you can. Let's see.
Yeah,
here.
this is awesome.
So we did the how to add a removal button. This gives you instructions for both Silverlight and for Universal. Basically, this is where I took that code straight from. I thought I had a second thing I could demo, but I actually don't, guys.
No worries, no worries. We can kind of talk about some other stuff that's going on to kind of educate, and that's what we do here. Also, we inform people kind of what's going on. There is going to be a change coming soon, and we all know that from the announcement in the tech space. We all know that from the announcement of Windows 10 and subsequent little mentions about Windows running everywhere, that sort of thing. One thing that's a good question that I have for you is when I'm talking to like a JavaScript or when I'm talking to somebody who knows C++ or whatever, and they're kind of choosing what apps to start developing for, or where they want to go with all this stuff. How do you talk to people? How do you how do I say con them into going the Microsoft route? What would you say that the path needs to be like? Where would you start them off at?
Well, I think for me, yes, I want people on the Microsoft platform. But I think in situations like that, the first question you really ask people is, what are you trying to do?
Right, okay.
What are your performance needs going to be? There's no getting around the fact that iOS apps are fast.
Yeah.
Native code is fast. C++ is fast. And in certain situations, especially Lance McCarthy, he's working on a universal version of his video diary app, and I know he's had some C++ issues he's had to work through, but I mean those things just make sense for him because of the performance that he's getting out of it and what he's trying to do. So I think a lot of that is going to be purely initially based off of what the user's trying to do, what the developer's trying to accomplish. And usually during the course of that conversation, what's going to happen is we were talking about this a little bit earlier before the show, you're going to hear the things that aren't true about Microsoft. Well, it doesn't do this, or it doesn't do that, or this language is better. iOS, Xcode is great for this, and the tools are terrible on the Microsoft platform. And a lot of your time is going to be spent going, well, no, that's not true. No, that's not true. Right. And kind of proving to them that everything that they know is wrong. And that's always that's not a great place to be in a lot of times. But you go that route and you try to convince them, and hopefully they see a little bit of a spark there, and they'll take that jump. That's probably going to be the hardest part of getting anybody that's going to be coming from Android or iOS that has never done Windows Phone development, is going to be dispelling all the things that they think they know that aren't actually correct, because of, like you said earlier, that perception issue. So that's a challenge. That's a big challenge. It's a challenge for Microsoft going forward. How do you combat that? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Well, another thing to kind of piggyback off of that is Xamarin. What are your thoughts on Xamarin and C# and being able to write like that and distribute multiple times? I mean, there are some changes that need to be made. The same as if we were talking about, writing an app for, say, Android as opposed to, or whatever. There's just different things that you have to do. What are your thoughts on the write once, distribute all Xamarin type of route?
Well, I think that's a really great goal. Xamarin has made some great strides. Some of the announcements, especially the Android player that they announced today, that's going to relieve a huge pain point for a lot of people that are trying to do Android development. I think that the conundrum I come into in my own mind when I'm thinking about this is who is Xamarin for? Is Xamarin for the iOS developer so that they can get their app on Windows Phone, or is it for the Windows Phone developer or the Windows developer that wants their apps on iOS or Android?
Right.
And again, that's going to be, to me, it's going to be one of those personal feelings that people have. I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer, but I definitely lean towards the latter. It's Visual Studio, it's C#, it's Microsoft tools, which is all great, but I personally don't see pulling in a ton of iOS and Android developers onto the Windows Phone platform through Xamarin. I might be wrong about that, but that's just kind of my gut instinct. That might not be what a lot of people want to hear, but I hope that I am wrong about that. I hope that it does end up becoming a nice gateway for getting a lot of those iOS folks and Android folks onto getting their apps over to Windows Phone. But they're not using C#, they're not using Visual Studio today, so that's kind of a tough hill to climb. I think it's awesome that there are some insanely talented people that are on the Windows Phone side. Just a few: Rob Irving, Tim Gabriel, Andrew Long, Brandon H., Bill Rice, Lance McCarthy. I mean, the list, all the ambassadors, George, all those guys. I mean, giving them the opportunity to take their hard work from the Windows Phone platform and show off what they've done on other platforms, it's great for their profile, it's great for their pocketbook. If they can make money doing it, that's even better. I think that having those types of opportunities for people that are already Microsoft developers, I think that's great. Some people don't think that's so hot. Oh, they're going to take their apps and they'll move and they'll go over to. I don't think that's true. I just don't think that's true. I think when you've got somebody that's invested in Visual Studio and C#, they've obviously chosen to use those tools and be on the Microsoft platform. And this Xamarin is a means to an end for them to be able to up their income and up their experience level and put some more tools under their belt. So I like that aspect of it. I think that it's going to probably be insanely successful in that regard. So I'm pulling for it.
Yeah, absolutely, and all those guys you mentioned, they're awesome individuals, and we look forward to seeing more stuff that's going to be coming as the user experience is going to change a little bit. Seeing you run 10 there, that's pretty hot. I'm not gonna kid around. That thing's gorgeous. But the other thing I wanted to kind of ask you about too is what has that been like for you to go from Silverlight, on over to a complete XAML stack and the C and C# and stuff like that. What has that trajectory been like for you?
It's a little challenging, to be perfectly frank. And it's a maturity thing, I think.
Okay.
I think as .NET developers, historically .NET developers, we've become extremely spoiled with the level of documentation on MSDN and the comprehensiveness of it and the way it's organized. I think this transition period for Microsoft is very visible, not only in just the PR aspect of it, the product announcements, and we've all seen the transition happening around us. But if you go into MSDN and look at the documentation, I think you can see the transition happening there too.
Right.
So it's finding adequate documentation on things that has made it a challenge for some folks. I've definitely heard that from other people. So it's an adjustment. The APIs are different. You got to learn some new stuff. And if you're not a fan of learning new stuff, I imagine it's going to be pretty hard on you.
Hey, I was all over that thing the other day. I'm cutting and pasting, copy pasting code and throwing it in there, and it's like it doesn't work as it's advertised. Let's just say that. And there was a lot of some issues going on there, and I'm just like we're not there yet. It's not there quite yet. So what were some of the tools that you used in order to learn, aside from run, fail, run, fail, run, fail, like I do? What are some of the tools that you use to get better at what you do?
Well, you know, obviously the online help document, offline help documentation is great. MSDN is great. Stack Overflow is great.
Stack Overflow.
Stack Overflow not so hot right now for WinRT stuff. There's just not a lot there yet. That will come over time. But you know, you and I are a lot of the same. I do things by trial and error. In fact, I cannot count the number of times I have spent a day or so on something, and then I go look for something. Oh, there's the solution in the first search result, and I basically reinvent the wheel.
I know.
It happens all the time, and it will happen repeatedly with Universal Apps and WinRT. But you know what? I think I like learning like that. It makes me remember the things that I can't do or have to do a certain way. I'm actually much better at remembering that stuff and not having to go back and reference it later if I've actually gone the trial and error route.
Like this didn't work this didn't work because of this, so now I know what doesn't work, and now I know what works for now.
Exactly.
Right? And the other thing too is if I get one more stupid assembly reference error, I'm gonna just lose my mind. But when I do win, I win big, right? Like you said, throw your arms in the air. Yes, you know, I've accomplished something and it's awesome. Yes, it may have taken me a day or two, where most people it's like, dude, it was like a 5-second lookup. Yeah, I know, I get it, but I work this way. Okay, I like the harder path apparently. So was Microsoft Virtual Academy? Do you have anything to say about that? I noticed that the reason why I bring that up is because there is another Robert there who does a tip calculator for the Windows Phone 8 application is from start to finish. So have would you recommend Microsoft Virtual online stuff to get people to check that out and help them along?
If you've got the time and a day job that will allow it, a lot of times, I mean, most of that stuff's available on replay, so you can do it at your leisure time. But the times I have used Virtual Academy, it has definitely been during the day, during the live session. It's a little bit easier. It's more active. You need to ask questions, you can, instead of having to try to do that offline afterwards. But yeah, Virtual Academy. I mean, the amount of stuff that Microsoft has on I don't understand. I don't think iOS and Android developers really understand just how good they would have it on the Microsoft platform comparative to what they're on right now. And I don't know that every Microsoft/Windows developer really doesn't take for granted what Microsoft
I agree.
For them, because there's just so much stuff out there. So yeah, Virtual Academy. If you want to learn Universal, get started on that. That's probably going to be the best place to go. The documentation is going to lag behind, and at least if you're doing Virtual Academy, you're seeing it live with guys that are living it every single day, and that's going to be the best source of your information, I think.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, I've always said that with iOS and Android developers that are looking, a lot of it's their career, it's their that's how they make their living.
Mm-hmm.
And with Windows Phone, there's a lot of really good apps out there. But if we could get some really great apps, and if it takes some of these iOS and Android developers to do that, the whole platform would benefit, and they would make a killing on it.
Everybody in the pool.
Right.
That's kind of my attitude about it. Is everybody get in the pool and do what we can do to kind of get it. We're not going to get the apps until we get the users, and we need developers to get the apps. The whole thing will make your ears bleed.
It's a complete vicious circle.
Yeah, the chat room. I mean, developers get together in chat rooms. It's like almost daily. That's the same thing that comes up. I think there was a collective sigh of relief today when Zim was released. It was basically released on Android and Windows Phone, and iOS was lagging behind. We're like, thank God, finally.
No, finally.
But it's the same argument every day. It's how do we get more people? I think Europe's probably got the better end of the deal. They're at 9%. They're showing slow, but growth, and the U.S. is what's lagging behind. So yeah, I mean, to your point,
yeah, Europe and India is like kicking
oh yeah,
butt with adoption. So it's just a matter of getting the United States on board.
Come on, U.S., get your butt in gear. That's
Right. Which is really weird because I mean Microsoft's a U.S. company, so you would kind of think, hey, but.
No, not so much. Now, another question that I have before we move on to kind of our last questions is you were briefly and sadly a part of the DVLUP Ambassador program, and friend of the show, Rich Dunbar, who's been a guest a couple of times, and we've seen and hung out with and all that stuff's a great guy. What was your thoughts on that? And where. Where are you at on the? Are you in the acceptance phase? Are we still in the anger phase? No. So where are you at right now with what happened?
Well, let me just say I can't really be too upset about me from a personal standpoint.
Right. Okay.
Just simply because I came on towards the end of the program. And I really it was really kind of put to pasture before I got a chance to really get going. Those other guys, Bill, Greg, Atlee, Jan, George, and I'm guys, it's because I'm old and I'm drawing a blank right now. Lance is the other one. It's just a great, they were in there much longer and it probably affected them a good bit more. I think really the hard part of a lot of this is the realization for a lot of the Microsoft folks that got laid off. The Nokia folks that got laid off, that hit, those layoffs really did kind of hit that division pretty hard. So, personally, I was so sad about it. I think that the ambassador group is what got me going to DVLUP Day. I went to the first DVLUP Day in Sunnyvale, and it volunteered to work it. I was there to help and not necessarily be a developer there. I was so stoked about hanging out with those guys and learning from them and kind of just being in that presence that I actually paid my own way to go down to San Diego for the one down there and help George out. With that one. I think aside from the Nokia folks that were laid off, I think the biggest losers in all this would be developers. They definitely filled a one-on-one gap that was out there between Microsoft and Windows Phone, and Nokia and Windows Phone and the developer community. It was really disappointing. I hope that some of the stuff happening within Microsoft kind of transitions into maybe something along those lines, and seeing the evangelism program change a little bit to be a little more personal. But Microsoft is going through a lot of changes right now, so we'll just have to kind of see how everything plays out.
Yeah, so my thoughts on it were just I believe that it left a void because there was we always talk about the chicken and egg thing with Windows, the Windows Phone and the Windows modern apps is what we'll eventually start calling them universal apps, but whatever. I think that there was a serious oversight there. I think that it should have been. But for some reason, over the last couple of years, Microsoft's PR not good. There should have been another plan in place. Like, maybe they don't work directly for here's what this is going to be now, because we recognize that we still need people to evangelize. We still need people to show developers and people who are interested in developing, and the biggest market, which is kids, and show them that they should start developing now and learn how to develop in the Microsoft ecosystem and not go the Apple, because you see MacBooks in colleges, you see MacBooks all over the place, and you see Android devices being built for and all this other kind of stuff. So and Android just really being easy to, not easy, but I mean being one of those things that's free and blah blah, and you can just punch it out. I'm not saying those are the best routes, but what happens is you needed those people there in order to convey how important it is to develop for Microsoft and the stack and what that future looks like. Because we all know from the iPhone, the reason why you see iPads and Macs more in business is because it was ubiquitous amongst normal everyday users, and PC was ubiquitous, and that's why it was so easy for people to buy PCs, in stores, because they were ubiquitous, and that's a problem. And the problem is the app gap, and we see that in our Microsoft stores. We see that in the group that we hold and all those kinds of things. Is this app gap would be closed if there was high quality developers, and developers would be caught if there was an evangelist program to help those developers answer quickly the pain points in which a dev would run into while making an app. And I think that they need to come up with something, and I think it needs to be soon if they want Windows 10 and the universal ecosystem to take off better than the Windows Phone 8 1 and 8 did.
Yeah, I agree. I from what I know about the Microsoft Evangelism program, I anticipate, I have heard, and I anticipate that we're going to see some changes and some direction shifts that will eventually be very pleasing to a lot of people. Microsoft right now is trying to get its footing, and this is I have the obvious benefit of having worked for a Fortune 500 company before. And I don't say that as like it's a big thing. I say that as until you've worked for a company that turns like the Titanic,
right.
a good appreciation for the number of moving parts and the interconnectivity and the crossover amongst teams and the number of people. And we've heard notorious stories about the bureaucracy at Microsoft, and that you talk about turning the Titanic, how about trying to turn the iceberg? I mean, that's kind of where Microsoft is coming from in this transition. So it is going to take some time. There's going to be a good number of missteps. You don't make changes like this without making a lot of mistakes. I think it'll be up to individual people whether they think cutting the ambassador program was a mistake or not. I definitely think personally that if I were going to do something like that, I would make sure that I have a very clear communication plan.
Yeah.
That's that tells the people that have been with you the whole time, look, this is what we're doing, and this is where we're going, and we want you to come with us, and it's going to take some time, and it's going to be rough, but this is the path. The problem is right now this is all happening so fast for them. I think in a lot of situations the path is often happens. The path's not going to be clear until you're already started walking down it. So
yeah, you're like, we've been doing this, so this is what we're doing.
Yeah. So I mean, I still have a lot of faith in Microsoft. This is going to be a huge year of transition. But when Satya Nadella says something, I don't know why, but I believe the man. And
right.
I believe that he is serious. I believe that he's got the right attitude, and it's going to be a challenge for him to break down a lot of the old ways of doing things at Microsoft. But he definitely seems to be off to a good start. So we'll just have to kind of see where it all plays out.
Yeah, he was one of the first ones to use a Mac during a presentation for like one of his very first ones that he ever did. So I mean, he's not afraid of using other platforms if he thinks they're better. So the our hardware, I should say, we don't necessarily know if he was using OS 10. But
running parallels.
Here's another question. So we all
parallels.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the questions we always ask the guests, and you can pick one of these, what do you see as being the next technological niche? How do you see technology changing in the next 3 to 5 years? As a betting person, what technology do you see booming in the next year? Or pick 3 current technologies, items that you see going extinct within 2 years. So any one of those.
Well, I kind of have thoughts on all of them, actually, but I will say this.
Well, then start from the top.
I don't understand what this obsession is with a watch. I don't get it. I stopped wearing watches a very long time ago because guess what? I could pick up
Okay.
my phone and I could see the time on my phone. Um, I think that they'll be great. I think I mean I have a Fitbit, so I do wear a Fitbit, but I wear the Fitbit specifically for one purpose.
Okay.
I don't need to be talking on the phone to my wrist. That just looks dumb. And maybe it's because I'm a Gen Xer and not a millennial. I don't know, but I don't get the whole watch thing.
Okay.
I've heard some grumbling about when's Microsoft going to come out with their watch. I don't know. I kind of hope they don't.
Really?
I don't know. I think a wearable of some type that does basic recording of biometrics and feeds that back to the phone is great. But don't we have that already? How much?
Sure.
What are we going to gain out of? I mean, I know it's an Apple product and it looks nice and all, but what is the average iOS user getting out of a device that they can't wander away from their phone to use? It's all kind of tied together. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
Right. And we see, Samsung. And then we see Samsung with their, watch phone that's going to have you can put a SIM card in it, so it'll have GSM on. And you're like, at this point, why? No, stop. What? I would like to see, and this is just my own thing. I would like to see a Microsoft wearable device for the simple fact of wanting it to be just an awesome version of the Fit, like a better version of a Fitbit that would, could take all the best parts of the Apple Watch, right? Like stairs, for example. 1520. If you ever try to go on a run with the 1520, that's a really bad idea.
You can't put it on your.
Well, for one, it's ginormous. For two, it's ginormous. So. Right. Okay. So it sounds like I'm getting all messed up. Kevin, go ahead and wrap up the end of the show, please.
Yeah. Robert, definitely thank you so much for spending so much time with us tonight. That was great. I mean, I think a lot of people's going to get some great information out of the demos and the links that we're going to be able to share out. And for all your talk, with the DVLUP Ambassador program and all that stuff. Is there anything else that you would kind of want to share, just real quick, little quick tidbits? Where can they find you? Best way to get in touch with you, etc.
Sure. Best place to find me is on Twitter. The Cheeky Taurus, CheekyTaurus. And CheekyTaurus.com is where the website's at. I do have to shout out also to Sebastian Lachance, Archie Coder on Twitter. Awesome. I would have gotten killed if I didn't mention his name after I mentioned everybody else's. And of course the fabulous Rich Dunbar. So yes. I got to get all the plugs in. But thank you again, guys, for having me on. I had a blast. And maybe when Pinley's a little further along, we can have a little revisit.
Yeah, maybe have you on Tech Informers to talk about that one.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, we really do appreciate you joining us and showing off some code and some ad duplex stuff. We really do appreciate that.
I'll try to have some meatier stuff next time.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Well, everybody, that wraps up another episode of CodeCast. We do appreciate everybody watching live, everybody that downloads. We've had great download numbers, especially the month of September, our best month ever. So thank you, everybody, for watching, listening, downloading, and sharing and spreading the word. And don't forget, we still have about 2 weeks left. If you're in the Midwest area, or if you live outside the Midwest area, you're still open to enter. We have 2 free passes that we're giving away, so 2 lucky winners will be able to attend St. Louis Days of .NET Conference, November 13th through the 15th. It will get you into the conference for Friday and Saturday. You would still have to pay for your pre-compilers if you would like to attend those. But make sure to head over to stltechtalk.com and you can find all the information there, or listen to our previous episode of CodeCast where we talked a lot about St. Louis Days of .NET with Scott Spradlin. All the information is right there. So check it out, get entered, and we definitely hope to see you there. So from JJ, Robert, again, thank you. And to everybody else watching at home and watching and listening later, happy coding. We're out.